Hey, Joe Gilder here from Home Studio Corner. Want to show you clip-based effects in Studio One. This is one of those things, I've mentioned this a couple times, that I probably originally thought was a cute little idea that I would never actually use. But I have used it a few times. It's not something I do a ton of, but I bet if I was working on different styles of music, I would use it more. So I thought it was worth showing you in a video. So we all know, or I would assume most people know, if you're using a DAW, you know that the typical way you tend to use things like EQ, any plugin, basically, effects, delay, compression, distortion, whatever, you tend to put it on the track itself, right? You want to put distortion on the vocal, you drag a distortion plugin to the vocal. But what if you really just want an effect just on a certain, like if we're looking at this yellow vocal track here, what if we only wanted distortion on this one phrase right here and nowhere else in the song? Well, there's a couple ways you could do that. You could use automation, which means you'd put the plugin on the track itself, on the entire track, and then you would automate it to turn on and off during this section. And that's fine, and that's kind of the way you'd have to do it in most other systems. Pro Tools, that's how you'd have to do it. But with clip-based effects, you can basically put a plugin on just a piece of audio. So this is the lead vocal track, but just on this one section of audio, I'm going to add some plugins. So you look over here, you open up your inspector window, okay, which is F4, and you come over here, you select the piece of audio that you want to mess with, and you come over here to the left, and where it says Event Effects, that's a better name than Clip Effects. Click Enable. And it doesn't do anything dramatic, it just suddenly adds this little section for inserts, otherwise known as plugins. So let's say we wanted to do the distortion. Let's do Bit Crusher. That's a new plugin in Studio One 3. So let's just say we added some gain, brought the bit depth down, something ridiculous. So if we come listen to it, we're listening in real time to what it's doing.
The one I love the most.
Let's downsample.
The one I love the most.
So that's disgusting. Let's say that's wonderful. We think it's wonderful. And we set the mix all the way to 100.
The one I love the most. Give everything.
So see what's happening here? As we play through, this audio doesn't have the bit crusher on it.
For me, you're the one I love the most.
That's horrible sounding. Let me adjust it a little bit.
For me, you're the one I love the most.
Sounds like Nintendo. Anyway, but now we've only applied that to this particular piece of audio. Now we can leave it there and we can call it a day. We're done. That piece of audio is there. If you ever want to get back to it, you can bring open the inspector window, or I believe if you double click on it, it might pull that up too. No, maybe it doesn't. I've lost it. There it is. So you can see if you look closely, you can see there's a little FX here in the region. So if you're looking at a region and you're not sure, you can say, oh yeah, that's got that FX there. That's the one I did something on, because it's easy to forget what's where. The other thing you can do is, if you know this is what you want and you don't want to have this bit crusher over here running all the time, then you can just render the effect. And it basically prints a copy of whatever you affected onto the audio, and then it turns off the effects. So now we're not using any processing power. So if you put 20 plugins over here to do a crazy effect on one word of a song, then maybe you want to render that. And now if we listen again, it's the same, sounds exactly the same.
You're the one I love the most.
But it's the actual audio itself. Now, if we want to change our minds, we can come back and click Restore, and then we can take the plugin off.
You're the one I love the most.
So it's not destructive in the sense that we lose what we had there, but it is now, we have the option of printing it or not. The other thing that's cool, you'll see over here, there's this tail setting. What does tail mean? Let me show you with a reverb. We'll put mix verb on here. Make it a really big reverb.
You're the one I love the most.
So let's say we wanted that to carry over the next line. So we want the reverb to carry over, but we don't want it to be on this piece of audio. Well, if we render it like this with no tail on, then it'll sound like this.
You're the one I love the most.
So that it just stopped as soon as the audio stopped. That's not ideal if you wanted it to carry over, for example, if it's a reverb or a delay. But you can turn this tail setting, and let's set it to 5 seconds. Okay? And now let's render it. Listen to what happens.
You're the one I love the most. Give everything I left you for to let you know.
So if you know much about how Studio One works, this piece of audio has been stretched out. As you can see here, see this different colored audio? We basically made a clip that goes all the way to here. And then this clip is on top of that, and you're hearing both interchangeably. So that's not the way you'd want it to work for most editing things, but when using these event effects and you want it to carry out over the next one without doing a bunch of automation, that's how you do it. So now it's there, and as soon as this piece of clip stops, we still hear the delay echoing out over the next line.
You're the one I love the most. Give everything I left you for to let you know.
So it's not something I use all that often, but it's great to know that it's there, because there are times when it would be nice to just add an effect to a piece of audio and have it be there and not have to worry about plugins later. And that is how you do it. So again, just in case you forgot how to get there, click on the piece of audio you want to mess with, press F4 to open up the inspector window, and then down here where it says Event Effects, you just click on it. So if we undo everything we did, or let's just do a different piece of audio, Event Effects will be down here at the bottom. You can slide this up and down to see things better. Click Enable, and boom, you're off to the races. Now this here, I actually don't know, Process Volume After Effects. Okay, so that's kind of a pre and post fader deal, a pre and post audio. So if you want the effects to come before or after the volume fader, I guess, you can do that there as well. Okay, that's it for event effects. Go and use it creatively. See ya.